Hello friends, it's Jayma Malme, and I've got a 2-page scrapbook layout for you with lots of photos. I know you guys like to get lots of photos on your layouts, and I'm even going to be using my favorite trick, which is adding flip flaps, so we can fit these 3 photos in the real estate of 1. I've already got my photos kind of laid out how I want them. I used a sketch, which I'll show you in a moment. Over here, I've got a 5x7 photo, and then this was kind of the odd man out. It was the only one that was a portrait orientation, and I couldn't crop it into a square, so I just decided that that is going to be stuck over here. I wanted to point out the difference between this one was printed on my PictureMate 400, which is how I normally print my photos now, but I printed these quite a while ago, and I'm just getting around to scrapbooking them, and I sent them out to be printed, and they are on matte, but just look at the difference on all of these photos. I just did kind of the auto enhance feature before in editing before sending them out, but this one just has a little bit more shadowing, whereas this one is brighter. Now it was in different light. We were outside here, but we were had a ton of windows around us here, and there was really good lighting too, but it's just different. So maybe you're someone who likes a little more shadowing and this looks more pleasing to you, but I like them to be a little bit brighter, and I just really love the quality that the PM400 puts out, and I just wanted to point that out because I've talked about that printer a lot and I still really love it. Now all I have for 5x7 is glossy. All of these are matte. I'm just gonna have to be okay with them being mixed for this. Now let me scoot these out of the way because I'm using some paper that is fall themed, but these photos were not in fall. This was like in March. So I just was really drawn to the colors because if you look at especially the food, there's a lot of orange in there. The colors just really go. Here we have some red up here and then a lot of wood grains and dark. So rather than looking at the theme, I wanted to pull out the papers that could work. So I really loved this stripe paper because that, if you hold it up, it just looks really good with all of the photos. So I want to bring in the stripe. I may bring in the green. We do have some bright green back there in the leaves, a little bit of bright green here, a little bit of a darker green here. I may try to bring in this, or I may bring in another paper. But I was really especially inspired by this paper here. Now some of the stickers could work. There's some really dark espresso, which might work. I could even potentially pull in this orange colored one with the leaves. Just because there's leaves doesn't mean it has to be fall. So I'm gonna leave that one out. But just by pulling these, you really are able to customize the paper pack. So don't always look at the theme of a paper pack. There are usually a lot of neutrals that could go either way, either themed or for anything. So I did want to supplement this though, and I had some wood grain paper, and I thought a wood grain would look really nice because we have this wooden barrel here, which is also in kind of this background here. This was sort of a similar location. We have a lot of warm wood in the table, and even in the back, we were at a winery here. So I pulled a couple of wood grains that could work. There's even some wood here. And this one has a little bit more red in it. It's a little bit richer. And so I thought that that might look nice. And look at how good it looks here. There is espresso in this collection. Looks like it's actually not even in this paper, but this is acorn, and then this will blend nicely enough because there's kind of some lighter tones and darker tones and looks really good with all of these. And then even if I end up not using the orange, if I don't want the leaves, I can pull that out. These look really good together. And then if you don't have a patterned paper to go with the colors, just pull in some cardstock. So I wanted to have a little more scarlet potentially because of this red that we have in here, and I just think that it looks good with all of these colors. I could bring in some pumpkin cardstock instead of that leaf pattern. And then I think I might bring in some black because we do have so much black in our photos. But I also don't want to overwhelm the layout with a ton of black. So I'm gonna just kind of try it out, but I pulled it just in case. But see, if we've all got black jackets on, and if we use a lot of black, then that's really not gonna make the photo pop. Of course, I will matte this on white like I always do. You could matte it in a color if you want. This would pop pops off the orange okay. I just really like matting things in white, so that will help it pop. So that's kind of the direction that I'm thinking. So let me bring in the sketches. All right, so here I have the Make It From Your Heart Volume 6. This is a wonderful sketchbook that has single page 12 by 12 sketches, double page 12 by 12 sketches, and some cards. And you can see the blueprints in the index, and then it tells you which page to go to. And there are instructions on how to cut all your paper and some inspiration. It's a really, really wonderful book. So I was flipping through this, and I was drawn to this page because the photos, the sizes and orientation and everything fit my photos really well, but it's only a one-page layout. So I'm going to take this as my first inspiration for my right page where I had all of those photos, and I'm going to create a companion page. Then I was looking further, and there was this layout here, which is kind of similar in the format of the photos, but there's one less photo and they're a little bit different orientations. But I really liked all of these strips. I'm always drawn to strips like this, and I've done several layouts like that. So I think I'm going to do some strips, and I may have them go horizontal instead of vertical. But that's where I drew my inspiration. So I'm just going to go ahead and start playing with my paper, and then we'll come back when I've made some decisions.
Do you ever start a layout and then you get stumped and have to set it aside for a long time? I actually set this aside for 2 months because I just could not decide what to do with the other side, this left side here. And then the creative design team came out with the 12 by 12 sketchbook. So I was flipping through it and I saw that sketch that I just showed you, and boom, inspiration struck, and I was inspired to finally finish this layout. So even for us seasoned scrappers, you know, sometimes a layout just does not come together very easily. So since we were at a winery in these photos, I pulled out this Cheers My Dears stamp set, and there's a wine glass on here among some other like cocktail glasses and stuff. And so I decided to create my own patterned paper by stamping the wine glass on it. So I'm going to stamp in I think this is Espresso ink onto the limeade cardstock, and I'm going to flip over my Versamat so I have a cushier surface and can get a good impression. And I'm just going to flip and rotate and stamp this wine glass in various places. So you notice I did a couple of practice stamps on the white daisy background. That's going to be hidden by my photo, so I don't have to worry about that. And then I used another scrap of white daisy to go around because I've already adhered my pieces down. I didn't know that I was going to do this before I glued my pieces down. So I'm just using that scrap so that I don't, go off the edge and stamp onto some other papers or onto my Versamat, although it won't really hurt my Versamat. All right, so I got all of my paper stamped, and my first instinct was, wow, that is really busy. So I put all of my photos back in place thinking, okay, maybe they're gonna cover a lot of the paper, it won't feel as busy, but I just really was not liking it. So what I did was I just simply cut the paper down. I cut it into strips, kind of using that initial sketch that I saw with all of those vertical strips. I just used more strips instead, and I had more white space showing, and I think that solved the problem. It gave that, wine look that added that theme to my layout, but it wasn't quite as busy. Now I have these little bouquets of flowers that were already colored. These are from the Floral Notes Stamp and Die Set, which is sadly retired now, but when it first came out, I think it was in the September-October catalog, I stamped some of them and just colored them for fun, and it just so happened that they were colored in the perfect colors to go with this layout. So I decided to use them here. I think they look really pretty and work well with my theme. You can't go wrong with flowers, right? And then I had these gold glitter flowers in my embellishment stash. They were from a previous kit, like a really, really old kit. And since I reorganized all my embellishments, it was easier to find a lot of my old embellishments. And you'll see a look at my embellishment storage later in this video. This stamp here is from the Are We There Yet Scrapbooking stamp, which is like a travel theme. And I thought it would be great for this because I do love this place. This is my favorite winery. And I did some rock and roll stamping. I stamped it in the lighter color, which is Sundance, and then rolled it around in the Scarlet to give that two-tone look. And I am going to be messing with that little embellishment there so much. It's going to move all over the page. And spoiler alert, it doesn't actually make it on the page. But I'm going to keep trying because I just love that stamp. I think it's so cute. Now, if you watched my Oregon video from a couple of weeks ago, you will recognize that Oregon wooden title that I used on that layout. So another spoiler alert, it doesn't make it on this layout. I actually did this layout first, but I published the videos out of order. But I really am loving these gold glitter flowers, and I'm just going to tuck them here and there behind those colored flowers. And I'm going to mess around with my embellishing a lot on this layout. So I left a lot of that process in just so you can see that, you know, sometimes it takes me a long time to make decisions, but I've sped everything up quite a bit. Now, this stamp and die set is from the January stamp of the month, and I am still obsessed with it. It is such a good stamp set, and even though it's not available anymore, I know a lot of you got it because these dies are so good. So I stamped a couple of the little arrows from that set in the same manner as I did that Love This Place with the rock and roll stamping, and those are going to stay on the layout. And then I stamped a bunch of those scalloped circle, or not stamped, I cut out a bunch of the scalloped circle dies from the January stamp of the month in colors to coordinate with this to create like these little landing spots for my embellishment clusters. And then I also used some of the tags that are from the Are We There Yet Cardmaking Workshop kit, which also is no longer available, but there are so many different tag sets. I will link a different one down below that's just a couple of tags, or you can always cut your own tags. Just cut a rectangle and then cut the little, corners off and punch a hole. But these ones are kind of fun because they're a little bit whimsical. They're kind of not super straight lines. And so I thought that was kind of fun. And so I'm just trying to bring in these three colors, the Scarlet, the Sundance, which I believe I used the light side of the Sundance paper. Close to My Heart's cardstock is two-sided, so there's a true color on one side and a lighter version of that color on the other. And I liked the lighter color of the Sundance better. And so I'm putting all three of those colors in 3 points around the layout to create a visual triangle and draw your eye around the page. Now here is my fun embellishment notebook. I kept a lot of this in as I'm flipping through here because I've been told that people like looking at all of the embellishments that I have. And I do too, actually. I did a whole video on how I created this little album, and it has been so amazing to actually go back and use a lot of stickers and embellishments that I forgot I had. So in this case, I didn't have a lot of stickers to use from the sticker sheet. I actually ended up not using any. So I needed to use embellishments from elsewhere. So I used, the stamped and colored embellishments, some of the gold glitter embellishments, and then now I'm just flipping through here to find what else I might have that would work. I don't end up using everything that I pulled out, but I did use most of it, and I like to just kind of have a variety of options sitting next to me to pull from, and some I may or may not use, and if I don't use them, I just simply put them back in my book. I think I've been using that little binder system for probably like 9 months now, and I really highly recommend it. I really, really love it. So like I mentioned, these photos are at a winery. This was a trip that I took to Oregon to visit my parents in March of 2021. So things were still slightly locked down. People weren't traveling as much. But my dad had been diagnosed with cancer. I've told this story in June of 2020, and he finished up his treatment in November, and we went to visit in the December for Christmas of 2020 and had gotten the great news that he was in remission. And my sister and I both ended up having time that we could take off work and get out to Oregon to go visit. Just the four of us, my sister and I and my parents, just, our nuclear family, if you will. And so we decided to take it because still, even though he was in remission, we just, things were still new and we didn't know what to expect. And so we wanted to have that extra special time with my parents. And my dad is doing well now, but we spent, I don't know, I think it was 3 or 4 days there. And on this day, we went to my favorite winery, which is Willamette Valley Winery in Oregon. It's it's right around Salem, Oregon. It's just north of Eugene, which is where I used to live. And it's just got amazing views. It's gorgeous inside. If you ever get out to Oregon and are around there, I highly recommend it. It's just a great atmosphere. We actually hit up another winery as well that I had never been to. I don't remember the name of it, but I think there might be one picture in there from there. But most of these are from Willamette Valley Winery or Willamette Valley Vineyards, and they have excellent food as well. So I'm just going to finish up my embellishing with a few little small pieces. I've got all my larger pieces, and now I'm just kind of filling out my clusters with a few small arrows and hearts and stars. And then I have some title options. This black one, it's easier for me to see what the titles are because you can see the whole package. This white package is exactly the same titles, but it's white acrylic pieces instead. And so I wasn't sure exactly what the titles were supposed to be. So I was looking at the black to see what was in the white, and I pulled out Memories. I'm just going to scoot everything down here so I can fit it here, and I think that is just the perfect title here because this really is just Memories, and I love that it's a generic title, but it's so fitting, and it fit perfectly too. Now, this little wavy banner thing, I'm going to cut off the excess so I can keep it on the carrier sheet and try it out, and I end up liking it here. I tried it out in several places around the layout. Originally I had it just a little bit higher and up to the right on that 5x7 photo, and I really like it here better tucked underneath the flowers because it felt a little bit claustrophobic when it was kind of off to the right. Now I am going to add some twine to these little tags because can't leave them naked. I wanted the twine to be just a little bit thinner than what I had in my stash. So you saw me pulling that apart into 2 pieces, and I'm just going to tie a little piece onto each of these tags, except for the ones where the hole is covered with an embellishment. I will just leave those ones. So here's a close-up of how everything turned out, the little dimension on the title, and then I have all of those floral notes clusters up on thin 3D foam. I love the thin 3D foam because it gives a little dimension, but not too much. It doesn't add a lot of bulk in my layout. But hang tight because I'm going to show you how I add that flip flap to that top left photo here. But I just love, love, love how this turned out. And I can't believe it took me like 2 months to finally finish. All right, so I've got the right page in a page protector now, and this is the flip flap. So I already have my photos in there. I'm going to peel off that release paper, fold that back so the sticky is on the back, and then I'm just going to simply cover it on top of the photo that's there, burnish in that sticky, and it is going to stay in place. This is a really, really strong adhesive. I have not had a problem unless your books are in like really, really cold or really, really hot and humid. You shouldn't have a problem with them sticking. And then I'll add my journaling over there on the left page. I will have still shots over on my Instagram and Facebook pages. The links are down below, as well as a list of all the supplies I used. If you want to see more ideas using flip flaps, then I have a playlist on screen here, and I'll see you over there. Have a great day.